Good, thank you. Okay, I would like to call the Monday, June 19th, 2023 Board of Education meeting to order at 7:04. Can we all stand for the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Carmen, would you be kind enough to read the mission statement?
The Orange Elementary School District recognizes that the education of each child is the shared responsibility of every member of our community. Our goal is to inspire and empower each student to achieve academic excellence, embrace social and individual responsibility, and lead with integrity. We believe all individuals should be valued and treated with respect. Together, we will make a difference.
Thank you. I'd like to wish everyone a happy belated Father's Day. Also, I'm not sure, but I was a little busy the other day. Mrs. Hadlock, did the Red Sox sweep the Yankees?
I believe that's absolutely true. We are now 5 out of 6 wins against the Yankees.
Thank you very much. I wanted that clarification. It makes me, that we had a member of the board, great philosopher Charles Flynn, who once said, or asked the question, are the Yankees even relevant in baseball any longer? So, anyhow, do we have any public participation? Do we have any, oh, I'm sorry.
I
Public
was at
participation is
that
over.
miserable game yesterday, the first one, and it's pretty hard to win if you forget how to pitch and hit. So hopefully we'll remember and turn it around.
Very good. Public participation? No, very well. Consent agenda. I am looking for a motion to accept the first item under the consent agenda. The first item is the minutes from the May 15th, 2023 Board of Education meeting. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes? Susan? Liz? Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Good. All right, we will move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Scarpetti?
Good evening, Mr. Crow, and all the rest of the board members. Again, happy Juneteenth, and also a belated Father's Day to all of you also. I was just speaking to a few board members before the meeting, and I was sharing something that I was going to share during my report. And it's something that I think you've all heard with me when I presented at budget meetings or other meetings here, is about how far we've come. And I've tried to make the connection of what I think at times people have forgotten where we've been, from cohorting students, not allowing any visitors in the building, wearing masks, a variety of things that we had to do. And then coincidentally, just a year in February is when the board unanimously voted to have masks optional. Now, I was going to say this a little bit later. I think a lot more people were wearing masks because of the fires that occurred at Kinner that we had to deal with at the end of the year. But this is a time for celebration because for me, and a lot of people have shared this, is that it felt like school the way it used to be. Coming into having more visitors, having parents involved, not just having some events, but all the events. So it got quite busy. So I just want to extend a deep gratitude, quite honestly, to all of you and your support, all the parents and all the students. Again, I want to wish all our students that have been promoted from 6th grade and going to Amity Middle School all the best. As I jokingly said, which really shouldn't be a joke about these fires that have occurred and how we've been impacted, it's another thing that we had to worry about. Not a big deal, but we had to keep an eye on the air quality that was going on. I want to thank Dr. Muhammad for his availability, but thankfully that the air quality met the measure that we were able to have outdoor promotion ceremonies. I want to thank all the board members that were able to attend either physically or virtually. Also, the first selectman made the time to attend the promotion ceremonies. So I just want to thank all of you and wish of everyone who promoted all the best as they move on to Amity. Keeps on going. School doesn't stop just because school ended last Tuesday. We started our after-school programs that I've asked Dr. Russo to talk about. It was great to see the kids, even though it's only been a few days. And I'm also going to ask her to talk about the summer programs. People are getting confused between the two, and I've asked Dr. Russo to kind of clear that up as best as we can. And in addition to that, we also have summer projects going on, which I asked Mr. Gray to share. And then lastly, I just want to honor a few people that have actually retired from the district. One is Linda Hayden from Racebrook School, Allison Hubley from Peck Place, grade 3, Anthony Gambardella, who's the PE teacher at Racebrook School, and our very own at Central Office, Cindy Maltese from Accounts Payable. So I want to wish them all of them extremely well, and all the health and happiness as they retire, but also expressing gratitude, not only for their service and always correlating, no matter if it's Central Office, how it correlates to the main reason why we're here is because of the students. And in addition to that, I want to thank the board for supporting, and even Mr. G came up to me, and that's Gambardella from Racebrook, and Cindy Maltese, because what we've been able to do, because they shared that they were retiring early, is an overlap of those positions. So people are able to get acclimated more sooner, and I know it's always a challenge when that happens to transition that way. So I want to thank everyone with regards to that. And as I look back with regards to how we're back in action where things are the way they're supposed to be, I had a recall about, it was probably maybe 2 or 3 years ago, presenting at the High Plains community, and a gentleman stood up, didn't have any children, and he was focusing on the arts. And I don't know if you've had the opportunity to read the board update, but I just want to highlight that it was so great to have the music department do exactly what they do, no matter if it was at the schools or Amity High School, the presentations, and the art shows. You know, I was speaking to one art teacher of saying, we should do a smaller forum for all the board members not able to attend, of having, as we get back, and having students perform in front of all of you, but just the artwork alone, where it just kind of highlighted of the skills that these kids have from kindergarten all the way up to 6th grade. It was amazing. And so I just want to highlight our arts department, no matter if it's music or the arts, of Dr. Jalil, Mrs. Garney, and Mr. K, of everything they did, and our band teachers and music teachers. They did a phenomenal job. And then with regards to a little bit more with the personnel update, starting in August, the negotiating committee will begin negotiations with the Orange administrators, and we'll be sharing information as we continue with that process. But other than that, Mr. Crow, I want to thank you and the entire board for supporting us in what I deemed as another successful year here in Orange. So thank all of you.
Very good. Any questions for Dr. Scarpetti? Comments? Very well. Mr. Gray?
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to begin by sharing our grant updates. Our first grant is the American Rescue Plan Elementary Secondary School Emergency Relief Grant, and this is the ESSER 3 grant. The original allocation was $326,000. We are now spent down to $81,000 remaining. This grant has been used for salaries, services, and supplies for the summer learning programs the last 2 years. The remaining $81,000 will be used for some more summer programming and a little bit of HVAC work that we're going to be doing. The American Rescue Plan IDEA 611 and 619 grant, which was a $72,921 grant, has just been spent down totally. So that grant is now at zero, and that was used for special education stipends, professional development around restorative practices. We also have our emergency elementary secondary school emergency relief grant 2 for special education. Is a $60,200 grant, and that has been spent down to $900 remaining, which should be spent in the next week or so, and that grant will be done. That was used for job-embedded professional development, coaching, tutoring, modeling, and co-teaching. Some newer grants that we received this year: American Rescue Plan, Elementary Secondary School Emergency Relief Funds, Innovation After School grants. We have one for Peck Place School and one for Racebrook School. Both grants are in the amount of $239,549. To date, we've spent around $27,000 in each of those grants, so we're down to about $212,000 in each of those. Those are being used for the innovative after-school programming that we had throughout the spring, and currently taking place right now this week and next week at Peck Place School. I believe we have right around 170 children participating in that program, and I know Dr. Russo is going to speak to that a little bit more. As Dr. Scarpetti said, that's different from the actual summer programming, which starts the first week of July, and that is through the Summer Enrichment Grant, which is a $299,000 grant. That is for summer enrichment programming this year and next summer. We haven't spent anything down from that yet. Obviously, we haven't started the program. We also have applied and received the Online Abuse Prevention Grant through American Rescue Plan. This is a $30,000 grant. And again, we haven't started that, but this grant will supplement the SOAR program that we have in district through the school resource officers in the Orange Police Department. And then finally, we have the American Rescue Plan Act Right to Read grant, which is $39,500. And this is assistance with K-3 scientifically based, evidence-based literacy, teaching, and learning. Moving on to the, tied in with those grants, the annual ESSER report. Again, I think I mentioned at the last meeting, we have a report that we have to send up to the state for our ESSER funding, explaining exactly the accounting of the money that we've spent. That was submitted back in April 25th of this year. Food services. Connecticut lawmakers and the governor continue to discuss the funding of free school meals permanently. They had a deadline of June 7th until the budget was finalized. We're currently waiting to hear back information regarding lunch pricing. So right now we're on hold with that, hoping that it does come through, but that's not a definite yet. Once we have more information, we will definitely share that with families so they know before the start of the school year. And for the audit, our auditors will be returning at the end of June and then throughout the month of July to start their audit of the 22-23 budget year. And that concludes the finance report.
Any questions for Mr. Gray on finance? Go ahead, Betty.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. I didn't hear, I don't think. Did you say 107 students or 170?
170, I believe.
170?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. And the $299,000 summer enrichment grant, is that also a times two-year grant, or is that a one-time deal?
So it's a one-time, but it covers this summer and next summer.
So it's $299,000 to be spent over 2 years?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And if I may, Mr. Kraut, through to Mrs. Hadlock, we were sharing at the previous subcommittee meeting that, just as a reminder, we were actually waiting to receive word if we were going to get these grants, and it put parents in a precarious position. So again, thank you to those parents and their patients, because not only did we say a date and then it was extended by the state, but when we actually announced it, it's very nice to see the response that we received and how many people did enroll.
Tatiana?
Regarding the innovative after-school program that took place throughout the year at Peck Place as well as Racebrook, why were those schools chosen versus Turkey Hill, for instance? Was it amount of students, or was there a reason why it wasn't offered at Turkey Hill, as I guess my question was?
I'm not sure if Dr. Russo is going to share that or not during her report.
Okay.
But just to clarify, are you going to get into that a little bit, Dr. Russo?
I wasn't going to, but I.
Yeah, but we were only allowed to choose two,
I
and because of the population that it would serve. But in addition to that, there are students at Turkey Hill that are being served by going to those schools. But, you know, when you're up at bat, you could touch base.
Just explain it now.
If you like to, sure.
This is on. So we actually called the state and we asked if we could include the students from Turkey Hill And they said yes. And so
okay.
next year, we are actually, instead of spending to bus Turkey Hill students to those other 2 locations, we are going to offer some of those innovative after-school sessions at Turkey Hill. But all Turkey Hill students who are receiving Tier 2 and Tier 3 services were offered the one-to-one tutoring, and that did occur. And all Turkey Hill students were invited to come to the June sessions, these 2 weeks that are part of the innovative after-school grant, because it's technically after school. You can't use those particular funds after June 30th. So we had an opportunity to kind of provide summer learning with after-school innovative grant funds for these 2 weeks. And Turkey Hill students were able to come, and MLT students too.
Thank you for clarifying. I was
It's-
unaware that those
it's-
students were able to then go to Peck Place or Turkey Hill, or
So
Racebrook
it's
to
so
join.
confusing, and so as Dr. Scarpetti said, I will share and hopefully clarify some of those details, but I wasn't going to speak to that, so I'm glad that you asked the question.
Thank you.
And when we filled these grants out, and as you know, we've been very fortunate of the grants that we received. Unfortunately, I know there's one grant we didn't receive. That being said, they give us these guidelines, but I have to reassure the board and anyone watching at home, we don't hesitate to call and ask the questions if we could push the envelope a little bit, as Dr. Russo just said. So we appreciate the flexibility from the state and us being creative in order to include more students.
Thank you.
Anyone else for Mr. Gray? Go ahead, Liz.
I just had a question about the innovative grant, and I guess grants in general. When you say they go on for the year, or the innovative grant, does that mean like January, like a school year, or like a calendar year? Like, how long is the funding going on for?
So the innovative grant, when we received it this year, we were able to use it in the spring. We didn't get that grant, I believe, until March of this year, so we're using it this year, and then it'll be the entire school year next year as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else for Mr. Gray? You want to move on to facilities, Mr. Gray?
Sure, thank you. I'd like to start off just by thanking our custodial and maintenance staff for all of their work the last couple of weeks of school. As Dr. Scarpetti mentioned in his opening remarks, we are definitely back to normal in the schools. We had a plethora of activities, and there were a lot of setups and breakdowns. So I really want to, send kudos their way, because they went above and beyond to make sure that everything was set up appropriately, properly, and then broken down when the events were over. And it takes a lot of work and a lot of teamwork, so thank you to all of them. I also want to mention that during the summer months, we'll be undertaking a project to increase the accessibility of the Peck Place Playground. The project's going to include excavation and preparation of the site for the installation of playground equipment that will increase accessibility for all students, as well as poured-in-place rubber surface, which provides a safer, low-maintenance alternative to playground chips. Once this project is completed, all of our playgrounds will have undergone improvements to accessibility. And finally, also this summer, we are going to have some smaller projects at the buildings. Thanks to the Town Capital Planning Committee, we received funding for the mansard roof at Peck Place School on the 6th grade wing to be repaired. If you've seen Peck Place School, you'll know the mansard roof is it's like a slanted roof around the edge of the top of the building. Most of the building is vinyl cedar shake. The 6th grade wing is actual cedar shake, and it's beginning to fall off, and the woodpeckers on the backside have really done a number on the cedar shakes. So before it starts to damage the interior envelope of the building, we need to get that replaced. We're also replacing the steps at Turkey Hill School at the front of the building in their drop-off pickup area. They're deteriorating quite a bit, so those need to be fixed so that they're safer. And we also are going to be doing some furniture refurbishment this summer as well in our classrooms. And that's thank you to the Town Capital Planning Committee for that. And that concludes my report.
Any questions for, go ahead, Annette.
So regarding the playground, is it just additional equipment there, or are you actually redoing the whole thing? What?
No, the equipment that's there is going to remain. A couple of those pieces are going to be moved for the new equipment that we have, again, to further make it more accessible at certain areas of the playground. But the port in place really makes it accessible because anyone can go over that surface. It's a smooth surface, and you can access any part of it. So what's there is staying, and we're adding on additional equipment.
So, and then all of the wood chips are going to be removed.
Yes.
And are there any other playgrounds at any of the school that still have wood chips?
No, so Peck Place is the last school that we're doing this type of project to.
Okay.
Once this is done, they'll all be done.
And Mr. Kraut, if I may just extend a little bit onto Ms. James' question, this is where I appreciate the communication and feedback for parents. Our diversity of our students changes, and the ability that our students have or may be limited was approached us some years ago. And I apologize for the correct terminology of the spongy, soft padding that's been at the schools, but that was a concern for a parent that extended, and we started at MLT school. MLT actually had it, but then we extended to the whole playground, and then it was embedded in our long-range plans. And then we started off at Racebrook School because students that were moving from MLT were going to Racebrook, so we were intentional. And as Mr. Gray said, Peck is the last one. But had some preparation to do with drainage and such, so we had to get that ready. So we're excited to have that and have the inclusivity of all our students, not just some of our students.
Tatiana?
During the programs that are being offered in the summertime at both Peck Place and possibly MLT, will the SSOs be there that are ordinarily at Peck Place School, or will they not be employed during the summer months?
So the SSO and one of our security monitors are at Peck Place School. MLT program hasn't started yet, but Peck Place, they're there. So we do have security.
You do. And when the MLT program starts, will there also be an SSO?
There'll be security there, yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else for Mr. Gray? Okay, thank you, Mr. Gray.
Thank you.
Dr. Russo?
Good evening. As per Dr. Scarpetti's request, I am so excited to share information regarding our June through August learning opportunities. We are running 4 different programs, so it does get confusing, and I hope to clarify any misconceptions. I think the discussions that we just had started to do that, but I want to share more details about each of those programs. So the first one, as we just shared, the June sessions, those are funded by the ARP ESSER Innovative After School Grant. And I'll help you try to picture what's happening. Today was the first day, and I have to say, it was amazing. We do want to thank all the parents at drop-off. That was a little hairy, but no matter what, it's way better than it was when we first started all of this. Today was tricky because we are relying on Pick My Kid, and the portal just closed on Tuesday for school, and there, wasn't really that much time now to switch everything over for summer learning because we needed different codes. But tomorrow we expect it, or we anticipate that it's going to go a lot smoother. So if you can picture, we had 10 groups of students. 6 of those groups had students in K through 3 grade levels from all the different schools, MLT for K, and then Racebrook, Peck, and Turkey Hill. And then 4 groups of 4 through 6 grade students, and 4 of those groups. Now, they went to 5 different sessions, one being art, another one being power of play, another one being health and wellness, and health and wellness included yoga and or PE, so there was student choice on where to go, and those sessions were amazing, watching those kids there today. Then we also had Lego exploration. And I just want to share, and we are taking videos and pictures to share in our board update, but the Lego Exploration, last year, we contracted with a company, and this, what we did now, was way better. We bought those kits that are very expensive that parents sometimes don't buy for their kids. Some of them were for ages 18 and above, and I want to share that the students in grades 4 through 6 were working in teams, building those structures, and doing just a great job. And those will not be taken apart. They will be displayed with the students' names on those. I guess I have to watch the Lego movie to see whether or not we're going to glue those or not. But we'll keep you posted on that. So,
And Dr. Russo, that's something that when we were there, that's something they really did on their own, not,
oh, yeah.
so
Oh,
if you could talk a little bit about that.
right, so they were following the directions in teams and doing, building these independently without any teacher support. We have adults facilitating. We have anywhere from 15 to 23 students in a group, but because of the adult-student ratio, it's like 1 to 10. But it's been a lot of fun.
It's nice to see, not only because of having a fun activity, but to expose our students to adulthood, right? Interacting with others, trying to solve a problem. It was very nice to see how they were handling themselves.
And they had choice to what they wanted to build, and they're contemporary. You know, it's those Legos from Star Wars, or those beautiful like orchids, flowers, the bonsai trees, the pyramids, like really great selections. In addition, students who receive Tier 2 and Tier 3 services throughout the year, they are pulled for a 30-minute session of a session that they may not be as interested in. So they get to pick that. We did not have that today because it was the first day, and we met with all of the interventionists to make sure that the materials and the resources that they use for that one-to-one session is pertinent. It picks up where a student left off, and so it's very intentional. It's not just any old thing. It's exactly what a student needs to ameliorate a learning gap. So that's really the first program. The second program we entitled Summer Learning. That one is also funded by a competitive grant, and that runs for 16 days, 4 weeks. And it does follow the same framework that I just explained for the June sessions. What else can I say about that one? Oh, the big difference, and this is why it gets confusing, for this grant is that we do provide, we've partnered with 21st Century, and we provide aftercare till 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock if working families need that. So in addition to all those learning opportunities, there is aftercare available for parents. So that's the big distinguishing difference for that one, and that is not funded by the Innovative After School Grant, which we also have during the school year, but that one is funded by the, as Mr. Gray said, the, hold on. This is why it gets confusing. The Summer Enrichment Innovation Grant. So they both have the word innovation, which makes it a little tricky. The third program running is the Extended School Year, or ESY, and that is specifically for students receiving special education services. The great thing is that once they meet their IEP hours, they are invited and welcome to come into the summer sessions as well. So it's really coordinating and partnering with the special education department to provide those opportunities for students, especially those that need social emotional learning support. It's great to learn how to express and regulate during power of play, during the Lego building, during PE, during those sessions. So that is the third program. And then the fourth one is our early reading success for incoming kindergartners. Based on our interviews and meeting and greeting incoming kindergartners, we identified some who would really benefit from a boost to successfully transition into kindergarten. And that program is funded by that combination of some of the title funds and district literacy support, basically. So I think I have covered everything. I might be forgetting some. Oh, one last thing. So that was all the information about the 4 current programs. But we did submit another proposal. The Connecticut State Department of Education recently just put out another opportunity. And as Dr. Scarpetti says, you know, we try. You can't score if you don't shoot. So we submitted a proposal for this. And just quickly, the description is that it's called the Summer Mental Health Supports. The Connecticut General Assembly recognized the need for mental health supports during the summer and passed Public Act 2247 to address this concern for children and families. The focus of this grant is to provide resources to Connecticut's local and regional school districts and operators of youth camps and other summer programs for the delivery of mental health services for students. And so now that we are in the business of providing all these opportunities between June and August, we actually came up with a great plan to embed and bolster our current programs with this. And if we do get it, we would be awarded $50,000 for each of 2 years and $35,000 for the third year, for a total of $135,000. So we'll keep you posted and let you know if we are awarded that grant to bolster the mental health needs of our students. And that concludes my report.
Any questions for Dr. Russo?
I do.
Go ahead,
Is
Renette.
that grant that you were just speaking of, is that something that you would embed in the summer learning, or is this for, okay?
Yes, we would definitely embed it in the summer learning.
And are we ready to go with that? If we
100%. We came up with such a great plan that it would be really easy to embed that.
Do you have a date when we're supposed to
No, I was
be
just
notified?
asking Mr. Gray. I think we'll call the state again tomorrow and find out.
Go ahead, Betty.
It's a very exciting summer. I'm thrilled to hear it. And do you have numbers about participation for all of these different things going on? Or is it similar to the 170 that you have currently?
Yeah, yes, we do. And I was for the.
I mean, you
board
don't have
up-
to give me exact,
Yeah,
is it
no.
similar numbers or more?
Oh,
or-
yeah, it's almost 200 students a week.
Great, super. And I do have one other question. There must be some cost somewhere for parents. I mean, if they're staying extended, that's not being paid for by these summer innovative grants, right?
The only cost to parents is aftercare through 21st Century for the July and August sessions.
Okay, and transportation is up to the parent, I presume.
Correct, but if there is a family that doesn't have a car or needs help, we've come up with ways to do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else for Dr. Russo? Go ahead, Ken.
Just a comment and a question. First, thank you for navigating the landscape of the grants and trying to maximize the learning for the kids of the
Team
district.
effort, team
So-
effort.
Appreciated by all. So just for my curiosity, maybe anyone listening, how do you find the grants? Are you circling websites? Are you informed by the state? What's the art of capturing, especially the competitive grants? What's your process for doing that?
The first is that the state alerts us to possibilities, and then we search.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And following up on Ken's question, I just want to say, it's really amazing, all the grants that we've been able to capture, because many school districts actually have a grant writer position. We do not have any such position, so this is additional work by all the administration, and it is truly appreciated. Thank you.
Tatiana?
The innovative after-school program that you had throughout the year at Racebrook as well as Peck Place, you had some outside businesses that would come in, Giggling Pig, I believe there was a salsa dance company. How did you get them involved? Was it something that you put an ad out for them to get involved, or was it, I'm just curious as to how that came about.
Just researching, just researching.
Gotcha. Okay.
And researching and then asking other districts
How they did it.
their
and what-
experiences.
I understand.
And learning also from the past of what students may be interested in. One thing I've shared at the previous meeting, I want to acknowledge not only our staff in front of all of you, but there are a few teachers that are interested in leadership positions. And they've jumped to the cause, and even though we needed their help too, it's afforded their opportunity. So they would be reaching out to, once we got that feedback, to call the salsa, to call these groups up and saying, hey, would you be interested? Or maybe they even knew that. So again, I want to extend the thanks that Mr. Vitale mentioned to them, but that was part of the process also.
I understand. Thank you.
Anyone else for Dr. Rousseau? Go ahead, Carmen.
The summer programs, are we kind of really pushing some of those parents that our students basically really need the extra help? I mean, how are we targeting specific groups of students that, we want to make sure that we're helping them move in the direction that we want them to go?
I'm glad you asked that question. Anybody that we wanted to target who did not register, first we emailed, then we called, and we even went to some houses.
Thank you.
And we're still calling.
Okay.
Anyone else for Dr. Russo? Very well. Thank you, Dr. Russo.
My pleasure.
Okay, so we're going to move on to board business. I believe you all got an email regarding the July 17th board meeting, which at this point in time has been canceled. The feeling is if we need to have a meeting, I can always call a special meeting. So if anyone on the board has a concern, please contact Dr. Scarpetti, during the course of time, during that period. All right? But there will be no July 17th board meeting as of this time. Okay? All right, next, superintendent's evaluation. We will be going into executive session for that. Standing committees, finance and operations, Ms. Riccio.
Finance and operations met prior to this meeting, as we always do. We reviewed the financials, we reviewed the grants, as Mr. Gray has already shared with you all. We looked at the numbers where many children received cafeteria lunches. It was the highest average count per month yet, so it was great. So they enjoyed that. At this point, the budget is in order. We're under budget right now and plan to stay that way.
Any questions for Ms. Riccio?
I just had a question about the lunches. What is the plan for the upcoming school year?
Well, we would love it for it to be able to be free, but we don't have that information yet. So right now, we're moving forward with assuming that we're not probably going to be having free, but we won't know until the state decides. So
Have you come up with, or have you guys decided on a price for the lunches for the next school year?
I don't believe so, not yet. Mr. Gray, you can correct me, but not yet. We haven't adjusted a price for a cafeteria in many years. We were looking back to what we charged during, right before COVID, and there may need to be an adjustment. If there was, the parents would be notified well in advance.
Thank you.
Anyone else for Ms. Riccio? Very good. Personnel, Mrs. Hadlock?
The Personnel Policy and Transportation Committee did not meet in May, but we will be meeting sometime before the August meeting so that we can have different policies to discuss and review, have them in place for our August meeting. And I will work with Dr. Scarpetti and reach out to members of the committee to find dates that work for all of us. It'll probably be sometime in early August, I would think. Okay.
Any questions for Mrs. Hadlock? Mr. Cap, Buildings and Grounds?
So the same with Buildings and Grounds. We didn't meet this previous month. However, Mr. Gray went over a bunch of the Buildings and Grounds items that we would have discussed otherwise. But we will be scheduling a meeting. I'm going to say it's probably going to be in the August timeframe, right before school starts, like we usually do, to do a walkthrough of the schools, make sure everything's in tip-top shape and ready to go for first day of school.
Go ahead, Susan.
Mr. Cap, would you be opening those walkthroughs to some of the other board members? So that, a lot of the board members don't necessarily always get into some of the buildings. If you could, that'd be great.
Dr. Scarpetti, I think we'll possibly send out an email when we're going to do the walkthrough of a specific school. So, yeah.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, we would love to have anyone join us on these walkthroughs, so, because sometimes an extra pair of eyes is good to have.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Oh, go ahead,
I'm just
Betty.
going to say thank you, Susan, because I, in particular, would love to see the new furniture and what's going on with all of that. So look forward to it. And this is not a question for Mr. Cap, but I forgot to ask it earlier. What is the current K enrollment, kindergarten enrollment? What's the latest update?
151.
Thank you.
Anyone else for Mr. Cap? Very good. Now, I see here that Dr. Scarpetti is going to fill in for Mr. Ziman. I'm sure that there's a little lull.
I will never meet the
Never.
standard that Mr. Simon has set at these
But-
board meetings.
Give it a
But-
shot, Dr.
But just
Scarpetti.
to briefly share, we are waiting to hear for if we were receiving the waiver. And once we hear about that, we will be having a meeting. We hope to hear sooner than later. It's very important with the work that we've been doing and the main focus with regarding instruction. So once we hear that, we'll reach out to Mr. Ziman and set a meeting.
Any questions for Dr. Scarpetti? Very good. ACES, Ms. Riccio. Oh, I'm sorry. Barnett?
Just to mention enrollment again, sorry. Just to mention the enrollment again, have we gotten any numbers for the new complexes that are opening in the Peck District yet?
Nothing, just purely projections. We haven't
Okay.
gotten any, and then as of right now, no enrollments from those, from that development.
Okay, thank you.
They're both in pack.
All right, so we'll move on to ACES, Ms. Riccio.
Yes, the ACES Governing Board met June 1st. It was earlier than usual because we wanted to honor some teachers and staff. So we had our Teacher of the Year. There was executive directors recognition awards. There were 3 of those. There was a Rookie of the Year, first-year person at ACES programs. We have 3 major projects going on right now at ACES. ACES at Chase has got some significant construction going on. We are continuing to grow ACES at Chase so that it can be ultimately a high school as well. So it's currently a middle school. We're adding a grade each year. But in order to do that, we have to also make sure all the buildings are compliant. Wintergreen School in Hamden has got some construction projects as well. And 88 Bassett Road will ultimately be a special ed school, but there's a lot of work that has to go into that. ACES did receive the transfer of title for 88 Bassett Road. We had been in there when Wintergreen lost their building for a while, and we were paying rent on that. And the state wanted to, did not want to maintain that building anymore. So ACES was happy to take it for like, it was a very small amount. And then we'll be modifying it so that it can be a full special ed school. Name of that school to be determined. We have many summer school extended year programming. Many of those, all of the summer school, all of the special ed schools have an extended year program. They discussed it some grants as well. Fiscal report is all within or under budget. Some cases we have a surplus, so it offsets the cost for all of our districts. There are still a bunch of positions open if people are looking for jobs. There are teaching positions, there are special ed, there are also service positions as well. So if you're interested, please go to aces.org. We got an update on all the schools and all the graduations and activities, just like Orange has had. And then we did not vote on our officers, so I am considered acting chair right now for ACES because unfortunately our nominating committee, the chair of the nominating committee was not available. She had an emergency, so she wasn't going to be, so more to come. And ACES is not meeting in July or August unless we need to, which we know we will need to meet as an executive board, not as a full board, though, for some of the building projects to sign off on things. And I think that was it.
Very good. Any questions for Ms. Riccio? Go ahead, Betty.
Hi, Susan. I just wanted to confirm the ACES at Chase, that's in Waterbury?
It is in Waterbury.
Yeah.
It used to be Chase Collegiate.
Right. Yeah.
And the challenge ACES at Chase has, when it was at, it used to be at Thomas Edison School
Right.
in Meriden. And at that time, we could go up to 55% for the magnet school in any one district. When we moved to ACES at Chase, they're also only allowing 55%. But if you go over that number, even by one student, it changes the cost for all of the students that we get reimbursed for. So the challenge is that there is some space at ACES at Chase, and we would like to have more students from many of the suburbs that are convenient. People are interested in it. The school's doing very well academically as well, and lots of activities. But the problem is that more Waterbury families would like to be attending, and unfortunately, they can't, because it wouldn't be feasible with the way
Yeah, you have to cap it.
we have to cap it so it's not more than
Yeah,
55%.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And 88 Bassett Road, is that North Haven? Where
It
is
is
that?
North Haven,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and Wintergreen was Hamden.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyone else from Ms. Riccio? Very well. Thank you, Ms. Riccio.
Thank you.
All right, so I am going to be looking for a motion to enter into executive session to perform the superintendent's evaluation. Dr. Scarpetti, would you like to join us in executive session? Very well. Do I have a motion to enter into executive session? Liz, second Susan. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Very well. We are in executive session at 7:52.
reconvene into regular session.
Very good. So we're back. Ms. Riggio, would you please read the motion?
Yes, based on the board's review of Superintendent Dr. Vince Scarpetti, we are looking for a motion to modify terms and extend Dr. Scarpetti's contract for one additional year, with the modifications completed by the executive board.
Any further discussion on that motion?
Well, I made the motion, I need somebody to second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Susan made the motion. Do I have a second? Betty? Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Very well.
Unanimous.
Motion passes. Doc, the notes on yours, okay. All right, so I'm looking for a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting. Susan, second. Who would like to second it with Susan? Ah, Ronette. She was the quickest. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Very well. We are adjourned at 8:39. Thank you.
Have a great summer, everybody.